Okay, this is Engine and Theories, Intentions, Build and Realities, Facts, video number 3. I was talking about Malaise era V8s and how the next era of these Honda economy cars started to phase into each other. And what was going on around that time, not including but not limited to the phase out of leaded fuels and the works. A few shout outs. Got Eric the Car Guy, got a lot of good stuff out here. You've got Vice Grip Garage and all of them doing good. Of course, I already think I said Boosted Boys, PFI, Cletus, and all what they do, Faster Proms, all their all their homies and everything like that. Wallace Racing got really nice charts and calculators on the internet that you can use for free to get good figures, as well as Spicer Parts, Stapleton 42, 4AGE Garage, Liv Scafidi, Julian Edgar, Banks, Project Farm. These guys got it right. I'm probably missing a few. I'll be missing everybody until I shout them out. But I told you I'll get to those guys, notwithstanding personal relationships. 305 Chevy, 3.0 liter, 5.0 liter V8, 150 horsepower, 2.3 liter F22A1, in that form. 152 horsepower, why? What's the cam timing? Cam timing on the 305 was anywhere from as small as 179 at 50 on the intake up to close to 200, depending on the spec. Exhaust would be somewhere in maybe around close to 190, maybe up to about 210, depending on what spec. Wouldn't do much though. Most of those motors end up getting as close to. If you do a chassis dyno properly on one of, an engine dyno properly on one of those 305s opened up, you can get 300 out of them, no problem. Now, of course, the smallest cam there peaks torque at 2,000, 3,000 maybe. Just everything you do, just trying to get that last little bit out of already over the top cam that's already just breathing as good as it can. It's like a steam engine. It's doing the best it can. You're trying to extend that out. You can. Power Nation did a video on it where they took a 170 for resplicing the video purposes. Of course, I'm with the shaky on my engine here that I've been working on TV. I got it on TV with the image here. So, coefficient of discharge, all these kind of nice things. But let me tell you about 177 horsepower 305 that Power Nation had on their engine dyno. They got it to over 210 with proper 177. They went from 177, so let's say 180. Just say 180. We know it's more than that. We could say it's more than that, but we'll say 180. Okay. They got about 220 out of it. 40 horsepower gain from a 5 liter. No change, no breaking apart. Same low little cam, all just giving it the beans. Best beans it could get. Most of the gains were in the ignition timing advance. So you get that. But that's why I have OBD1, so I can advance the ignition timing on this motor. Get those beans. Let's say I run this motor on this 180 at 50 intake, 195 at 50 exhaust cam. It'll peak torque is somewhere in the 2,000 range. Hold it till some point. Peak horsepower somewhere in the 4,000 range. Fall off immediately after that. Crank outputs would be somewhere in the 120 range horsepower with about 170 or more foot-pounds, because this motor makes a fucking ton of foot-pounds. I know guys, they got 160 wheel, over 160 wheel, without breaking the motor apart. Over 160 wheel crank, torque, and horsepower. That means that's a motor that Honda would have to advertise for almost 190. That messes up their H series motor. That's why they underrated. They said I have to underrate this motor because see it'll mess up us to sell the H series if you couldn't get some great power out of this F series F23. We can't let them know that this is really a 180 horsepower motor. We can't let them know it's really a 180 foot-pound motor. More foot-pounds, you're gonna get the foot-pounds all over the place. We're gonna let them feel it and be like, "Oh, I like this motor. This is great." You know, the granny that had this motor, the automatic motor I bought here. It moves the car. Shit, she didn't need a H series swap. This motor did everything for her. So what the additional doing what I can do on it, well, and plus if you had boost still, not even going into VTEC, it'll act like a freaking diesel. Tons of low RPM torque, just tons of just poop, 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 just you know from shift to 49, shift to 4900, shift to 4900, you know, trying to, or even just low torque, low throttle output, low throttle, you know, lean burn, trying to get the most MPG. Yeah, this is the type of motor you can do that with too. Because we're in a Malaise era. You gotta remember that. These are Malaise. So the same Malaise V8, I'm making still more power than the Malaise V8. Because if I go wheel dyno without even going into VTEC with this engine, I'll make more than your Malaise V8 wheel dyno. Bet you that. They're not gonna get over 100 because you know you gotta go through the real wheels and all the drivetrain and all that just to get it down. I'm gonna still be at like 110, 120 wheel without even going into VTEC. Give me some boost. Now there's ways to get boost. Now I like rear turbo because you already have all this flow of exhaust back there. The motor really can't feel it. You can turn a turbine. Same thing like a muffler will muffle those gases, velocities and speeds. The turbo can take those velocities and achieve higher power to your engine when you want it, but also achieve those high efficiencies, which is what I'm all about here. It's what's called applied technologies. So you have flex fuel capability, you have other kinds of deal. I'll do rear turbo. I wanted to really do electrical supercharger, which they used to call electric turbo, but they're not. Electric turbo will be a turbine and exhaust that takes the electricity from spinning it. It will be an electric compressor, which is what would take the exhaust gases and turn it into something, or no, not even exhaust gases, be in your intake track and take electricity, excess electricity to make power when you want it. Because you're not gonna want to be in boost. You're gonna be in boost all the time. You know, you want boost when you want boost. And these are the things I'm talking about. What is the amount of power you make per pound? On this engine, it makes about 10, 15 horsepower foot-pound per pound of boost. So you can see, like this guy said, with a few pounds of boost, you can make a bunch of more power. And if you do it in a way that's very efficient, you're going to use waste energies. And I like the deal for the thermals. The paint and everything in here are ceramic paints. They're for thermal efficiencies, to keep the heat in where it need to be in order to get it to where it needs to be, then put the heat into that while it's delivering itself. That's called expansion. But these are different efficiencies gained by certain motors like I have here with this Honda CB7. It's a 93 CB7 with the 2001 ULEV motor. So yeah, because the efficiency quality, the combustion will be very complete. Yeah, it'll be ultra low emissions vehicle still. So I've also, not only have I recycled a car and an engine, I will also have one that runs with a very high level of efficiency without having to spend, I recycle this.